Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Ollie. This is the Amber Army match review. First win of the year, Newport County 2, Crawley Town 2 in the Sky Bet EFL League 2, whatever you want to call it. I call it League 2. Um, as I mentioned, first match of the year, hell of a match to start off with, I guess. The rescue in a 2-2 draw, probably the worst 75 minutes of football I've seen, followed by the best 15 minutes of football I've seen. I've got some notes that I've made at the match. We'll go through it and we'll have a little talk about what happened earlier today. One note before we get into what actually happened in the match: whoever is deciding that we now walk out to Freed from Desire need sacking, plain and simple. I prefer either Yama or Heed or Hi Ho Silver Lining. Hi Ho Silver Lining was a perfect walkout song. I don't see why we've changed it. It's always a brilliant atmosphere and a sort of atmosphere you probably want to walk out to. Getting into the actual match then, our fans once again class. Whenever we've got a returning player or a returning manager, you always know they're in for a little bit of a gentle ribbon. Our fans, straight from the get-go, you should have signed for a big club, directed at Dom Telford. Dom saw the funny side of it, fair play to him. He did put out a lovely post saying, great to see us and wishes us best of luck. So it was always going to happen, but it's good to see that Dom took it the right way. Most of the first half was fairly dull from both teams. A bit of a direct style of football that we've come to know through Coughlin, Rowbury, Michael Flynn. You kind of got whatever goalkeeper it is. Today was Jody, pinging balls forward, hoping that someone somewhere down there can do something with the ball and convert it into a goal. Crawley pretty much the same, very direct, very route one, a little bit of passing here and there, but nothing this extremely good football. I think it kind of showcases why both teams are on the lower end of the table in League Two. First goal did come for Crawley then in the 35th minute. Obviously Don Telford was going to score it. Corner whipped him with a little bit of a goal mouth scramble. I call it a pinball goal. Benches off about 5-6 players. Dom Telford was just in range, slots it home. We know the type of player Dom Telford is. If he gets a chance to score, he's going to score. And that's what he did. The best spell of the half for us was probably the last 5 minutes. We had a few corners, a few breaks against our possession and kind of counter-attacking football. But we went into the half really 1-0 down, looking drab, looking like we needed a change or some changes. Really struggled in the final third today. I'm not sure if that's a Bogle problem or if that's just not having a reliable striker. I feel like we're a bit too reliant on the long throws. One every now and then is perfect, but where we consistently go into that as our main throw-in tactic, we're starting to get found out. Teams are starting to defend well, and credit to Crawley, they defended really well against her. Into the second half then, opening 10 minutes, more of the same from the first half for us, very drab. Zanzala and Aaron Wildig came on for Will Evans and James Waite, two very good subs in my opinion. It feels interesting to have some decent quality on the bench to come on and kind of change the game. Zanzala, perfect example of this, coming on, instant impact, dribbled down the Bisley side of the pitch, cut inside and really tested the Crawley goalkeeper with a shot. Nearly won a penalty as well. One of the three that arguably we should have got, but we didn't. Again, in the 57th minute, we had two what I would call clear-cut penalties, but I'm just a biased man who sits in the hazel. So, I felt like they was penalties. The people around me felt like they was penalties. Crawley fans probably thought it was brilliant tackles. Talking on penalties, so Crawley did get one in the 65th minute. From where I was sat, it was incredibly soft. I was a bit sceptical of whether it was actually inside the box or whether it was just outside. But the referee deemed it to be inside the box and deemed it to be enough contact for Crawley to get a penalty, and Dom Telford once again scored it, stepping up, slotted it, bottom left corner. He does have that little stutter, which is ironic because I have just stuttered, where he just runs up and he just slows and then taps it in. I hate people who do that, but it works for Dom Telford. At this point, you know, we're looking a bit drab, we're looking a bit out of it. Changes were made. I can't remember who came on, but I remember Bogle came off for Lewis Collins, sorry. Bogle came off. I'm going to make a separate video about this, but if you were one of the fans who were cheering and clapping and applauding when Bogle came off, have a look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, look, I know he's not played great the past few games, but what did Will Evans do today? What did, 90% of the players do today? No one deserves to be cheered and applauded off unless they've had a quality game. But the sarcastic reaction to him being subbed off, it didn't sit well with me. I'm going to make a whole video on that though, some point soon. But the game did change in our favour. In the 82nd minute, we got our first goal. Cameron Norman whipped in a stray cross that just bounced across the box, and Matty Dolan headed home. Brilliant header from him. Great to see Matty back on the score sheet. He's a bit of a confidence player, so hopefully going forward this will be great for Matty. And when we got that goal, we found ourselves in the match. It's a bit embarrassing it took until the 82nd minute to kind of establish ourselves in the game at home against Crawley, but it is what it is. Then there was 6 minutes of injury time, which was well received by our fans, especially 2 minutes in when in the 92nd minute Zanzala headed home for the equaliser. From there it was all county. There was a little bit of a touchline brawl between the Crawley manager and Graham Coughlin. David Pipe managed to get involved in the fight because it's what we have David Pipe for, I think. It is great to see Pipey back, I will say that, in a tight-fitting top. I'm sure the people at the club top have done him a favour with that, but it's great to see him back, great to see him fighting again. Shout out to Jared Harvey as well, who literally pulled Graham Coughlin away from what could have been a physical altercation. It was madness, it was absolute chaos. Both of them received red cards. I imagine we'll hear something about it in the week and we'll have to pay some sort of fine or whatever the EFL do. But coming out the match with a 2-2 draw, considering that after 81 minutes we was 2-0 down and looking hopeless, I will happily take a draw. It's definitely 1 point gained over 2 points lost. Crawley will feel hard done by. I think we're 9 points clear now of relegation, which, an optimist would say we're clear of the relegation zone. A pessimist would say we're still involved in relegation fight. Ollie saying, I think we're safe. What are you saying about that? But that's all I've got. I pass it over to you now in the comment section down below. What did you think of the match? Who was your man of the match? Who do we start next week against? Whatever team we play. Rochdale away, I want to say. I after that game, I have no recollection of county. It's just, it was a mental game. It's a mental day. That's why we support Newport County. But comments down below, whilst you're down there, subscribe, like, share the video. If you're excited to see the match reviews come back, then tell me down below. We read all the comments and we massively appreciate them. If you've not seen the new Taft word, Taft has spoke about this year, what we got planned for it. Hopefully a lot more regular content. And we massively thank you for all watching. My name's been Ollie, and up the county. Olé, olé, olé.